Hello, welcome to another Burgundy with Tweedy video. I have a friend visiting from out of town, from overseas, and we're going out for dinner this evening. I have carefully chosen a BYO place because I'm a bit fed up of paying ridiculous markups for disappointing wine. My friend is also quite a fan of Gevrey Chambertin, and we have in the past, years ago, enjoyed Domaine Fourrier's Gevrey Chambertin together, so that seems like the absolute obvious choice. I've been doing a bit of research of tasting notes and drinking windows, trying to pick the ideal one to take. At least one citation I saw for the drinking window for the 2015 Gevrey Chambertin from Domaine Fourrier said that the drinking window is up to 2025, and we're now into 2024. It's March 2024. I hope this is going to turn out okay tonight. At this restaurant now where they do BYO, Italian restaurant. We have some truffle tagliolini coming, very much looking forward to that. Have opened up the Gevrey Chambertin and probably time to give that a quick taste. My dining companion is just off screen, didn't want to be part of this. Colour wise, I would say that's heading ever so slightly brown, isn't it? There is a subtle, delicate waft of cherry on the nose there. On the palate, small sort of, I don't know, Kirshy, Morello cherries. It's sort of cherries that have had a bit of a career behind them. The acidity is quite noticeable as well. I wanted to record something like an addendum, a post-mortem possibly to that video, because I was a bit disappointed with how the tasting notes went actually in the restaurant. It's very difficult to record in a setting like that. I didn't want to spoil the experience either for my fellow dining companion, my friend, or the other people in the restaurant. Felt very self-conscious. So as observed in that little bit of footage that I did get in the restaurant, the wine was starting to brown a bit. I don't think that's necessarily game over for a wine, but it is an indication that it's starting to come towards the end of its drinking window. It's oxidizing a bit. I think that's usually the cause of that, and that can sometimes be accompanied with sort of vinegary notes, which is obviously something you don't want. The very first sip of it, there was quite a bold streak of acidity. I wouldn't quite describe it as vinegary. That certainly softened afterwards, so I don't think it had completely gone bad, but it was a bit of a worrying sign. I had bought this in 2020, I think early 2020, so it has been in my cellar for the space of 4 years, and perhaps there is just a bit too much temperature fluctuation in here, or for some other reason the conditions aren't quite right. The nose was very shy at first. There was a faint aroma of cherry. It did gradually improve as the wine went on. I don't normally decant Burgundy. I remember this from previous Fourrier Gevrey Chambertins, that they often do seem to need to breathe a bit to really come into their own. So possibly we squandered at least one glass of that by drinking it too soon. It had had a few minutes to air. I didn't just open it and pour it straight in, but perhaps that really did need quite a long time to breathe. It did gradually open up, and eventually there were some much more pleasant cherry notes and some quite attractive floral notes, quite pretty, and that's a sort of hallmark of Fourrier wines. But I would say we had 3 glasses each. There were 2 of us. The first glass, definitely a disappointment. The second glass, okay, but didn't justify the price tag. And only really by the third glass was it starting to become quite interesting. That final glass did pair very nicely with the truffle tagliolini, and I think those kind of pretty, fragrant, perfumey floral notes from the wine match very nicely with that sort of perfume you get in truffle. And by that time I think we were probably on to about the third glass. We had a bit of a discussion over serving temperature. I've recently gravitated towards liking Burgundies at very close to cellar temperature, but he seemed to think it really did need to warm up. When Jean-Marie Fourrier took over the Fourrier Domaine as head winemaker, he introduced a much lighter style of extraction at a time when, particularly in Gevrey Chambertin, there was more of a fashion for quite heavily extracted, quite big, bold, by Burgundy standard Gevrey Chambertin. So he'd really bucked that trend, a description I use probably every time when I discuss Fourrier's Gevrey Chambertin that I really like from Tom at Fingal Rock was ethereal, and I think that really captures it very well. It is very light and delicate, but there's something mysterious and elegant and perfumed and fragrant when it's good. I think we only really got a hint of that this time by about the third glass. Overall, I would say this was a bit of a frustrating experience. I consider this to be quite a high-end wine by my standards. It is technically only a village level Gevrey Chambertin, but lots of wine writers will say as village level Gevrey Chambertins go, this is as good as it gets. I think the current UK prices for this wine, the 2015 vintage of Fourrier's Gevrey Chambertin, the cheapest price I could find on Wine Searcher just now was £162. It is a pretty pricey wine. I paid a lot less than that. I bought these back in 2020 and I think I got them for about £100 a bottle. Still absolutely not cheap. And the frustrating thing is paying a lot of money for a bottle of wine like that and ending up with something that's so finicky and possibly even quite fragile. I've certainly had far cheaper than that bottles of Gevrey Chambertin at the sort of £60 level, that kind of starting price for Gevrey Chambertin, which have just been great start to finish, and I haven't had to worry too much about serving temperature or airing them for too long, and they were just perfect from the first drop to the last. It's kind of put me off really sort of spending a lot of money on wine. Bit of a frustrating experience, possibly a bit of a learning experience for me. I think it's a good reminder that wines do not continue to improve with age. They have an ideal window. Once they get beyond that, they will actually start to deteriorate. I have, as it happens, one last bottle of that 2015 Fourrier Gevrey Chambertin, and I'm a little bit apprehensive about this one now. First of all, I think I should probably drink that relatively soon, and also I will make sure I give that a chance to properly air. I may well even decant it when I finally do open that, and possibly give that a chance to warm up a tiny bit. So yes, bit of a frustrating experience, but I thought it good to record sort of the lows as well as the highs, and a bit of a learning experience for me there. Sorry, a bit of a long monologue there at the end, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.